Hey scientists, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Callie.
Today we are going to learn about tectonic plates and the different kinds of boundaries. The Earth's crust is made out of gigantic plates which float around on a layer of molten rock. That's called the lithosphere, and the plates make up the crust. There are two different types of tectonic plates. We have oceanic plates and we have continental plates. Oceanic plates are much thinner, but they are much more dense. And continental plates are much thicker, but they are less dense than the oceanic crust. For more on density, you can check out our density video where we make a density tower. During our experiment today, we are going to explore the three different types of plate boundaries. We have a convergent boundary where the plates move towards each other, and we have a divergent boundary where the plates move away from each other. And lastly, we have a transform boundary, and that's when the plates slide alongside each other. For our experiment today, first we're going to need a piece of wax or parchment paper. We're also going to need a tub of icing, or if you don't have icing, you could use Cool Whip or something like that. We're also going to need a pack of graham crackers and some Rice Krispie treats. And a knife. Always remember, safety first, especially when you're using that knife. To begin, we're going to spread a layer of icing on our parchment paper. Now we are going to need 1 graham cracker. So remember, during this portion of the experiment, the graham cracker is going to represent oceanic crust, and the icing represents the lithosphere. So we're going to go ahead and take 1 graham cracker, and we're going to break it in half and put it in the middle of the icing. Make sure they're directly next to each other. Now we're going to lightly push down on our graham crackers and move them in opposite directions away from each other. Okay, make sure you get about 1 inch or so between each graham cracker, and you should see a little bit of icing coming up in the middle, forming a small mountain range. So in this portion of the experiment, our divergent boundary of oceanic crust is pushing the icing up through the middle, and we call this seafloor spreading. So this is what creates our mid-ocean ridges and mountain ranges that are under the ocean in the middle of an ocean basin. Nice. Now we're going to remove our graham crackers and we're going to re-spread the icing. Do you want to eat it? Cheers. Okay. Alright, once you have re-spread the icing, we are going to need 1 Rice Krispie treat and 1/2 of a graham cracker for this portion of the experiment. So our Rice Krispie treat is much thicker and much less dense. So it is going to represent our continental plate. You're going to go ahead and put that on your icing. The half of the graham cracker is much thinner and it's going to be more dense. So this one will represent the oceanic crust. You're going to put them just a little bit far apart, about 1 inch on the icing. And as we're doing this, I want you guys to think about that the continental crust and the oceanic crust are going to meet. So that's going to look like something at where the ocean meets the shore. Alright, make sure you push down just a little bit and slide them towards each other. You should have seen that the graham cracker went under the Rice Krispie treat. This is called a subduction zone. And because the oceanic crust is more dense than the continental crust, they slide past each other and one goes down and one slides up. Once you've done that and made some observations, you can go ahead and remove the Rice Krispie treat and the graham cracker from the icing, set them aside to eat later. Then you're going to go ahead and re-spread your icing. You might need to add some more if it's looking a little thin. For this portion of the experiment, you're going to need 1 graham cracker split in half just like before. Now for this portion of the experiment, the graham cracker is going to represent the continental crust, which is different than the last one. But we also forgot to mention we need a cup of water for this experiment. So you're going to go ahead and begin by dipping the graham crackers into the water and then put them directly onto the icing, just about an inch apart. Now you're just going to lightly push the graham crackers towards each other and see what happens. So you should have seen that the graham crackers kind of crumbled and folded up onto each other. This is a convergent boundary of continental plates. So what that looks like is a mountain range when the crusts collide and push up and make mountains. Now, once you've done that and you've made some observations, you can go ahead and remove these graham crackers. You might not want to eat them. Ew. Alright, after you've removed these graham crackers, you're going to go ahead and re-spread the icing one last time. Now for this portion of the experiment, we're going to need a graham cracker one more time, and we're going to break it in half just like before. And this time you're going to want to put it in the icing directly next to each other. Try to put the edges that you just broke next to each other so that they'll crumble. So for this part of the experiment, the graham crackers can represent either oceanic or continental crust, whatever you want to think about. And this is a transform boundary. So remember, that's the one where the plates slide alongside each other. So when you're doing this, you want to be careful to slide them past each other and to push really into each other and sideways, but not down into the icing. Okay, if you did that, then you should see that the graham crackers crumbled and then it even started to break. So this is representative of an earthquake, or what we call a fault. And these are all over the world, but this is what, when the plates slide past each other, that's what causes an earthquake. So Callie, what did we learn today?
Well, we learned about the 3 different types of plate boundaries and how the Earth's crustal features are formed.